Gigi, what day is it? These are my corduroy pants. I've had them for 31 days. All right. Here we go. Gary. Dude.
You still wear them.
I know it. And they still fit. Yeah, so it's even better. Well, I want to do this is a little. I'd like to direct your attention to the Advent wreath for a moment. And the reason is, this is kind of an education purpose. This is an amazing symbol. The wreath itself is a perfect circle, meaning there's no beginning, no end. And in it are 3 purple candles, a pink candle, and there in the center is what we call a Christ candle, and that won't be lit until Christmas Eve. So if you want to see that lighting, it'll come Christmas Eve. Shameless promotion. Now, sometimes the purple candles, they use blue candles, and that was an ecumenical thing years ago. But for the most part, it's 3 purple candles. And, in the years that I've been doing this, it's a little confusing about each Sunday when you light one of the purple candles, exactly what it means. And so let me just kind of explain to you. The first purple candle that's lit can mean, and listen, I ran across as many as 5 to 7 possibilities for each of the purple candles. But let's just kind of go through this for a second. On the first Sunday of Advent, when you light one of the purple candles, it can mean prophecy, hope, or expectation. The second Sunday that we light one of the purple candles, it can mean proclamation, the way, or peace. It's kind of all over the map there. And then the third purple candle that we light can mean peace. Apparently peace is pretty common. Peace, love, and purity. Now, always on the third week, the pink candle stands for one thing: joy. And I don't care whether you're a Roman Catholic or Episcopalian or Lutheran. That pink candle, which is different from all the other candles, stands for joy. Joy. Joy is that unique emotion of hopefulness inside of us that changes our perspective, our attitudes, and how we respond to most everything around us. It is the most exquisite and powerful of all emotions, except for perhaps love. Now, I want to take you back a little bit. Back when I first became a Christian 20 plus years ago, it was kind of at the height of the charismatic churches, and a lot of Methodists were exiting, the Methodist Church and joining non-denominational charismatic churches simply because of, a lot of things, primarily because of their style of worship. And some of the complaints that I used to hear about in that day and time, and remember I was a brand new Christian, was the people who do that, speaking of charismatics, they said they are so heavenly focused, they are of no earthly good.
What?
That's it. And of course, I'll be honest with you, I kind of got where that was coming from. These people are very spiritual, a lot of praising, raising hands, different than what we were accustomed to, and I could sort of hear that criticism. In fact, I might have even agreed with it a bit. But after I got to meet some of those charismatic people and became friends with them and worshipped with them, then things began to change inside of me. In fact, it changed so much I began to detest that statement. In fact, I think we need to flip it. I think we've become so earthly focused, we're of no heavenly good. So, let me take us back a little bit. It's going to be kind of an expository kind of a deal. I want to take us back verse by verse through kind of what Gary read. And I want us to understand that when Paul is writing these words to a precious brother, almost like a son, to Timothy, he is imprisoned in Rome now for the second time. The last time he will be imprisoned in Rome. Because where Paul is right now, he's at a point when all appeals are gone. There's no one else to talk to. He's on nobody, as far as an official is concerned in Rome, he's on nobody's short list to be heard from again. No appeals. He has now been sent to prison for execution. And he awaits his fate to be executed. There were a lot of people in that day and time who were executed in Rome. So Paul could probably be there for a while. He was in what is known in that day and time as what was called a free prison. Meaning it was a slight upgrade from other prisons. He could actually have a visitor, or two, or three. He was chained there. There was no light in the prison whatsoever. I don't want to pretend this was some kind of country club. No running water, no bathroom, very little food, if any. His condition was deplorable. There was no light, so the only light he had either came from a candle or from an oil lamp. Everyone that he has known and been associated with at this point in time has abandoned him, except for one person. Dr. Luke. You remember Dr. Luke? Wrote the Gospel of Luke and the book of Acts. The one writer who wrote the most in all of the New Testament was not Paul. It was Luke. Luke. His only visitor, and thank God for that. It probably kept him alive longer because of the fact that Luke was there. There is a sense of urgency in this letter that is blatant. And if Gary would have read just one more verse, you would have heard his appeal, his heart appeal to his beloved Timothy. Do your best to come to me quickly. Quickly. The time it would take to get a letter after Paul had penned it off, to get it out into Timothy, for Timothy to read it, take care of the obligations that Paul was asking him to do, the books, his cloak, winter coat, parchments, to bring all that to him, would have taken somewhere between 3 to 4 months. Boy, if ever there were two people who needed a smartphone, those were two people that needed one. Timothy is in Troas. He's on the edge of Asia. It's a beach town. He would have to travel around a good part of Europe and then come up the other side of Italy to get to Rome. 700 or 800 miles. The time was probably early summer. He's asking him to come quickly because when winter hits, you can't travel those seas. They're too rough, too risky, too dangerous. Do your best to come to me quickly. Now, some commentators have depicted Paul here as being depressed, cold, lonely, self-pitying, and afraid. My comment to them, hogwash. Yes, he begins by using this metaphor of saying that my life is being poured out like a drink offering. Or as some texts say, a libation. What he is doing, he's alluding to a practice in the temple where when animals were brought up for sacrifice to atone for sin, the animal was slaughtered and then portions were cut off and then put on the altar, which is kind of like a big outdoor barbecue pit. Put it out there, it was wood fired, you put it out there on to the altar, and then as the flames begin going around it, then you would take a vessel of varying sizes, it just depended, and it probably contained some wine, and you would pour the wine out on top of the offering as a way of offering to God. That is a blessing and is a cover. Let's get down to basics. What Paul is really saying is, my life has been an offering to God. It has been a sacrifice to God that I willingly gave up. The time He is not, let me back up. He is not looking down at this point in time. He's looking up. This isn't as much of anything as a metaphor of worship and sacrifice for his whole life has been dedicated to God. And then he adds, the time has now come for my departure. If you've gone to a funeral, you've probably heard this passage read. You've probably heard people who talked about it, that it was a naval term. And indeed it was. What it literally means is an unmooring or an anchoring. But once again, I want you to understand something. He is anticipating, if you will, a new voyage. He's anticipating setting out for some distant, exotic shore that he's never been to. It's a lot like when we went up, and I told you this before, we went up to the cove, and they were telling us about Ruth Brayman. When they showed her plot there in the cove where she was going to be buried, her comment was, that's going to be my launching pad. That's how this guy's feeling right now. He's not depressed. He's looking forward. And then he says what I consider to be one of the greatest lines in Scripture. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Did you hear that? I have 3 times. Not what I don't have, not what I wished I have, not envying what somebody else has, not depressed because somebody didn't give me what I thought they should have given me. I have. He's sitting in this dark prison. It's damp. It stinks. No light. He is awaiting his execution day by day. He isn't despairing. He's joyful. He's looking above. Now there is in store for me, he continues, the crown of righteousness, which the Lord will award to me on that day. Again, he's speaking in metaphorical terms. He is talking about the fact that no greater honor could be given to a citizen if they participated in an athletic contest, an endurance race. Once they crossed that finish line and won that, they were given this olive branch to wear. That horseshoe-shaped thing they would put behind the back of their head and over their ears. It signified to everyone, there's a champion who finished the race. He wasn't looking back, he was looking ahead. He wasn't being regretful, he was being hopeful. He was an apostle looking ahead with the power of joy. He adds to that, he said, not only to me, but to all who have longed for his appearing. The word appearing here is the word that we use for a day after Christmas, right around the first of the year. Epiphania. Epiphany. For everyone who has longed for his manifestation. The manifestation of Jesus in the flesh coming back to us. Paul is speaking about himself, and he's speaking about any of us, people then, people now, who have looked in anticipation for Jesus Christ. He's talking about people who were so heavenly focused, they were of no earthly good whatsoever. Should that surprise any of us? I mean, this is the same man who has been looking with new eyes and looking above with joy ever since Ananias laid his hands on him and something like scales fell from his eyes. He's the same man who endured all kinds of suffering, all kinds of rejection, all kinds of deprivation, all for the sake of his faith in Jesus Christ. And then adds these words to the folks in Corinth. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For the seen is temporary, and the unseen is eternal. For over 30 years, since his conversion from a Pharisee of Pharisees to the most faithful follower of Jesus during that time. He has been longing for the appearing of Jesus. Every day of every week of every year for over 30 years, day after day, he has been looking up. Jesus Christ. Living, if you will, in the midst of delayed gratification every day. Do you know how impossible it is for us to identify with this? We who are surrounded by instant gratification 24/7 in our lives. It's utterly foreign to us. Because we don't look up. We look down. We look on what is seen. The unseen is absolutely oblivious to us. We are people who are so focused on earthly things, we're of no heavenly hues. Maybe that's why joy is seldom used to describe us as the people of God. Let me ask you something. Honestly, let's be honest for a second. As long as you've been a Christian, some of us have been Christians now for 30, probably 40 years. As long as you've been a Christian, have every day of every week, of every year, day after day, have you longed for his appearing? Where have your eyes been directed? Down? Around? Or above? See, if ever there was a season designed, if you will, to challenge or thwart our focus, our need for immediate gratification, and our joy, it would be Advent Christmas, wouldn't it? You know the routine. Long lines, short tempers. Extended delays, shrinking patience. Celebrations and shopping, little joy. See, joy is built for more than a season. And if Paul is any example, and he may be our best, joy is a day after day, week after week, year after year, everyday lifestyle. You won't find it looking down. You won't even embrace it by looking around. Joy is conceived and grows and is sustained in us by looking above. It's when we begin longing for his appearing that joy begins being birthed in us. Joy guarantees that no matter how long we look above, no matter how long it takes, even if we don't see him in this flesh, we keep looking above. And so this third week of Advent, we intentionally light that pink candle. That pink candle of joy. It's different by design. Designed to help us all start looking above again.